Welcome back, South by East friends, fans, and fam, to the Traffic Report, where we talk about culture, scripture, everything in between. John, what we looking at today?
Today, man, we've been getting, the algorithm has been acting on our behalf. We've been getting these incredible videos from different therapists who are sharing just from real life on here. And so now we have a dad who is kind of sharing some of his just real life interactions with his family and how he's grown in that. So,
yeah, love it. Let's check this out.
Hey, I understand all my traumas, so that means I'm at the end of my healing journey. You, my friend, are at the very beginning. Understanding what triggers you is a good first step. Having a level of honesty where you don't convince yourself. Almost done, boo. Trust me, you don't want to be out here. It's hot.
It's okay, we do.
Give me some space so I can knock it out real quick. It's okay, I'm coming. Big house full of toys and games and y'all are bored? Okay. All right, I'll come and get y'all when I'm done, I promise. See, like, that triggers me. Let's walk through this. Why does that trigger me? I'm triggered because I feel like they don't have the right to be bored. A gigantic, beautiful house in the safe suburbs. Parents that can afford a good living for them. More toys than they could ever play with. A AC blasting at 68 degrees. They have so many things in that house that I never had. But they don't care about my past, nor should they. So I have an irrational belief that they don't have the right to be bored because their upbringing is different than mine. Is that fair to them? No.
Ooh. Man, I love how he walks us through this and gets us to the place. I 100% felt like my kids ain't got the right to raise some of the concerns and issues that they have with me. But I also love how, we have 57 seconds, but I also love how he helps us walk through where he goes with this. Let's check that
out. Not at all. I may not like how what they said made me feel, but that's my thing to deal with. It doesn't have to turn into their thing to deal with because it negatively impacts me. And bored is just a feeling. They have the right to be bored. So while part of me wanted to give a lecture, instead I just asked for space. You have a right to feel a way that makes me feel a way without me having to retaliate in some way. Just being a human sometimes, your response it'll make you lash back out. So in order to not do that, give me some space, give me a little room. I can hear a thing that made me uncomfortable and be okay. You could be bored for a little bit and be okay. But I'm trying to do a better job of not turning small things into bigger things because they trigger me. Did I set off my trigger? No. But my triggers are my responsibility to see coming, my responsibility to react to, my responsibility to navigate through safely. My childhood is my childhood, it's not theirs. They shouldn't have to keep my childhood in mind while they live theirs.
Listen, I want to say this. If you're watching and you are not a parent, this episode is 100% still for you because it is not just as a parent that we have to hear some of those things that he said at the end of there, but just as a person, especially as an adult.
I'm going to approach it from another angle as a leader. Mm-hmm. Man, you remember when I sent this to you, and I had just, it's been a part of that where it's the space piece. And as a leader, hear what I'm saying, not what I'm not saying. I know here locally in my own community, I have a certain profile. Okay, I'm visible. People know me out in the community. Yeah. People know me out in the community, and sometimes I'll get social media requests from people I don't know very well, and then sometimes I know people well, and sometimes the things I see on social media are triggering. And then I have to digest that, right? And as a leader, man, one of the things that I have been growing in lately, I've done it at different times before, but let me walk you through this. Before, there was a certain pitch count of stuff I could see, and then I would do this unfollow deal, but then I would feel bad, and then I would go back, and then I would go check pages, stuff like that, and be re-triggered all over again, man. And I just got to a point where I don't unfollow people anymore. I just block them. So that I will guard against myself going to look them up to see what they wrote last. Right. That's going to re-trigger me.
Right.
And put me back into this spiral. And I was like, it was what he said. He's like, I realized I need space. And I needed the space to be able to show up in person for that person. And be the person that I want to be and see them in the way that I want to see them.
Yep.
Because I had experienced them differently in person than a lot of times I do online. Yeah. And I don't feel guilty about that anymore. I don't feel guilty about not everyone having access to me in all realms. Yeah. And saying there's some spaces that I need more space. And because of this amount of space I need, I have to put the right boundaries in place for me to be socially and emotionally healthy. Right. And as a leader, you need to be able to have that space. As a leader, as you talk with your employees, and the leader of Kansas Leadership Center spoke to us at the beginning of Leadership Kansas, and she was just talking about some of the feedback she had gotten and different things of that nature, like just different requests and how even like she probably, and like this is somebody who leads an organization that teaches leadership skills and was just like, what, does that follow me? Like I'm trying to do everything, and I get it, man. And he like, man, I'm okay. And then you start saying like, that person was triggered by something. There was some trigger. But then I allowed their trigger to trigger me. Right. And it's like, no. So I totally get it. I get it with my kids. Man, with the kids of just, my kids are learning instruments right now.
Yes.
And we bought my kids their instruments with no stress to our family financially.
Praise God.
We signed our kids up for outside of school music lessons. Whenever I'm in town, I get to take my kids. Every morning, I get to encourage my kids to get up, and after they do all their stuff to get ready, after they eat breakfast, they know Daddy's going to say, get on your instrument. Yeah. When they get home, first thing I'm going to say is, put a little time into your instrument. There was one part of my life where I was trying to learn how to play an instrument. One, it was a loaner from the school, or no, my dad bought it, but he always stressed how much he was paying payments on it, and it was kind of this weight I carried. And then it got stolen. But before that, I was just doing school band. When I got home, there was nobody that encouraged me as an elementary kid to actually put in the discipline to watch over that. It was I was a latchkey kid. My mom worked a minimum wage job. I was in a single parent home, and the only thing I would get is when my dad did come by, he would criticize that my skills weren't good enough. And man, I wish. For a little bit, Braille, I bowled as a kid. And I was in a kids' Saturday bowling league. And I would get different people to drop me off at this kids' bowling league or whatever. There was sometimes when my dad would come and he would talk about how good all the more experienced kids were, even though this was my first year in the league. And then he would be like, well, if you can hit this many strikes in a row, then I'll buy you a pair of bowling shoes. And the only time I ever got to bowl was when I went to league Saturday morning. And I just look at it, how I've been able to just be involved with my kids and stuff like that, and coach teams and different things of that nature, man. And this is not to beat up on, just things that I wish I would have had right. And so
right.
like when I see my kids don't take advantage of stuff or they might not appreciate stuff, man, boy, you talking about like this trigger?
But man, there's one thing I like about what he said was that like there's two pieces to it, right? There is the fact that you have been triggered, and that is important, and that your trigger is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, in order to make the healthy choice, I am not going to ignore my trigger and just lash out at this other person as if I haven't been triggered and this is an appropriate response. And I'm not going to put the onus on the other person to solve my trigger and be perfect. Neither one of us has to be perfect, but we can be healthy right now. Man, like yesterday, I was actually talking with my wife, and I just found out some things, and I just sat in the kitchen and I cried because there are just so many men in my family, and they're close to my family, that just don't have healthy ways of dealing with their triggers. And because they don't have healthy ways of dealing with their triggers, their families suffer. Their families suffer. I have triggers too. I'm growing and I'm learning too. But I still get to be a part of my family's life. My triggers I'm not ruled by my triggers. And when we don't take ownership of our triggers, both identifying them and managing them, we are ruled by our triggers. And that means the people in our lives, they don't really get to engage with us the way they should. We don't get to engage with them the way that they need us to, bro. And bro, I swear, man, I just sat in the kitchen yesterday, bro, and I just cried. I'm like, how do we get out of this place, man?
The spiral.
How do we get out of this spiral, bro? Like, I just...
Bro, here's the deal. The most tragic part of all is when I see people who allow their triggers to send them into what they want the least. Where they live in this constant state of me against the world, isolation. Like, and I'm like, fam, you don't allow anybody to love you. You don't allow anybody to stay in community with you, to stay in a relationship with you, because everyone has to start from a place of being your enemy because of your triggers. And you have to understand that not everyone has, nor should they be required to overcome your villain narrative in order to be friends with you, to be in a relationship with you, man. And it's like, it's such a tired trope of, if you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. And that's such an immature and tired trope to unabashedly punish people for just being in proximity with you, and then saying, well, if you can't stand that, then it's because you don't really love me. You don't deserve me.
How, Sway? And then, bro, it's generational, man. I was talking, man, because I love my family. And I never want to just bash my family and all that. But I was just talking to my wife. I was like, man, my daughters are not going to choose men like us. I was like, I'm not going to allow them to do it, because I was like, I also have to put responsibility, like, in the standards that are set for some of the men that are brought into our family, into our life. I'm like, we gotta hold to some standards. Like, we gotta hold to some standards with people where it's like, hey, man, I'm going to be healthy, and in order for you to be a part of my life, I need you to be healthy too, because we pass down these generational things that we have learned, bro. Like, as you talk about, like, your relationship with your dad and You know, I told you, I had a conversation with my dad where he was just kind of like, hey, man, you know, I don't do the things I say I'm going to do. You know, and we had a laugh about it, but it also hurt. And I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine being that person for my son. And that means that I have to constantly watch out for my triggers. My kid, you know, my kids, especially my youngest, my son, has some different issues with impulse control and with authority. And we have some moments where my son could trigger me, especially since I grew up in a home where authority was love.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if y'all know at home, if I disrespected my mama, if I didn't do exactly what my mama said, when my mama said it, how my mama said it, I clearly have forgotten who she is, have lost my mind, and she's going to make sure that I find it.
She ain't one of your little friends.
She ain't one of my little friends. She ain't worried about my little feelings. I'm gonna have to do this. Sometimes I'm like, Mama, this request and command is unreasonable, but I asked for it, and you gonna do it because this is who I am. And I'm like, when I'm dealing with a child that they're like, hey man, just clinically, he cannot. Some of the things you're requiring him to do, he's gonna need some patience and grace on. It's like, but I'm his father. Inside, I'm like, who do you think I am? I don't know who you think you are, but that's not important right now. Who do you think I am?
My name is not Boo Boo.
Yeah.
And I ain't the fool.
And I ain't the fool, right? And I'm like, and I have to check my heart and go, man, I go back to a sermon that you gave. It was during DTR, Defining Relationship. It was when I first came to the church, 2018. It says sometimes you have to choose between behavior modification and heart change. Yeah. And there was one point, we did a Making Sense of Your Worth therapeutic group together. It was really helpful. At one time, I came to the group and I asked for some advice because, man, my son, you know, my mom took care of me. She gave me the whoopings. I was always very polite, did what I needed to do. I was like, maybe I can get that through to my son. Did not work. I got to a point where I was whooping my son at least twice a day. And I was getting to the place where the whoopings weren't even effective. What was effective for behavioral modification was to scare him. Was to intimidate and scare him. And I got done whooping him, and I was like, all right, if I want him to get his jammies on and get in bed, I'm gonna have to really muscle up and scare him. And I'm like, is that who I want to be in my son's life? A bully? I gotta figure something else out. Mm-hmm. And I'd ask for help, and it's like, some of the advice I got was like, you gotta identify if there's a need that he has, like an emotional need that he has, or if he just has the inability to do what you're saying. And I ended up going back, paying some attention. I was like, I don't think he has the focus to do what I need him to do right now, which means even if I'm tired, even if I done worked a long day, even if I've told him 15 times, if I want him to get his pajamas on for a while, I'm just going to have to walk in this room with him, go through every single step. He should be able to do better. He should know better. At least that's how I feel, but he can't right now. And that means I got to sacrifice my pride as I have the authority. You should do this because I have the authority, because I care for you. I have to sacrifice that, and I got to watch my own triggers. Triggers that I've learned, triggers that I've built, triggers that in some ways have served me. I got to watch my own triggers if I want to be in loving proximity to my son.
Can I say this?
Mm-hmm.
In the world, having the most power allows you to have the least emotional maturity. In the kingdom, having the most power calls for you to also have the most emotional maturity. And that's the thing, man, that's so challenging. It's because in the world, man, the more money I got, the more power I got, the more license I get to be my worst self.
Yep.
But in the kingdom, the more authority and responsibility I carry also calls me to act in a way that's more emotionally mature for the sake of those with less power and less maturity. My ability to act in a way that doesn't feed into all my triggers. When others try to activate them, shows my maturity.
Yeah. And man, there's something beautiful in that too. I put in the preview for this episode of how we can't lead people somewhere that we've never been and that we aren't going. And as a parent, some of the things that I'm doing for my kids, I did not see. Had a great mom, had a great life growing up, but some of those things I've learned, I didn't see. But we have a God. We have a God who has already shown us what it looks like to have all the power, to have the most authority, to be disrespected, to be hurt, to be not accepted, to be rejected, and to still act with the most maturity. And to use that power to bring us into proximity and relationship with him. And so when I find myself going, I am at my end here, I can look to that example and call out to my Heavenly Father and go, I need you to walk with me because I know that you have it where I don't have it, bro. And that's part of the beauty there. But how about y'all, man? How about you? Boy, are them kids trying your nerves? Some of them employees trying your nerves? Don't share those stories on the Facebook. But we would love to hear about.
Don't do that.
We would love to hear about how you deal with your triggers or how you'd like to deal with your triggers. Man, it's a great space for us to be able to share advice and grow together. Comment, like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and we'll be right back here with you
In the intersection.